Hi, I'm Alexia.
And I'm Stacey.
Thank you for joining us for our first live Q&A in the Fetch membership. We are so excited that you are here with us.
Absolutely. Can't wait. It's
Oh,
good.
it's so good. And we thought that we would use this as an opportunity since we're all kind of new to one another to rather than having it as a traditional Q&A session where we'll be talking about specific topics related to your dog, we thought we would start off with giving you a little bit of an overview of what you can expect in Fetch, what this is about, and a little bit of housekeeping stuff as well to help you better navigate the membership and make the best use of it. So that is our plan for today.
A little bit of clarity just to help everybody. It's always good.
It is always good. So we thought it might be helpful if we start with what Fetch stands for, if you're not familiar with that, and why we started it. So, Stace, do you want to lead with that?
Well, the Fetch is a lovely little acronym that we came up. And actually, I'm drinking from the cup that gave me the inspiration because it's got Fetch written on the inside of the cup. This is where it came from. I literally drank from this cup and went, oh, that's a great. And then I realized that it worked for the letters on the acronym, which are F for fresh food, E for energetics, T for targeted approaches. I nearly said Q then. C for curiosity and H for holistic. What are we calling it? Holistic health or just kind of holistic options, holistic approaches? Holistic.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just because we realized that whilst we were working on consults and separately and then kind of working together on different kind of research projects and rabbit holes around different clients that we were working with, that we were there was always a kind of theme to the way that we were approaching them and the best way that we could do that. And we were looking at like how are we going to look at the fresh food and how are we going to look at how the energetics impacts the decisions that we were making for fresh food. And we actually realized that we were kind of already doing this framework and it kind of just magically appeared. And that's how it originated, was because it came from us realizing that we needed a kind of structure to work to help us guide us through the processes of doing these consults and working with these guardians that were looking for answers and support. And but actually we thought, well, actually this is a really great way to give people tools to be able to do this for themselves rather than needing us. Um, and I think we've always kind of said we wanted to put ourselves out of work almost, haven't we? Because if people can learn this stuff that and have a framework to work towards, that you can actually just get on with it yourself and that we can just be here to facilitate and answer questions and help you on your rabbit hole journeys because we love nothing more than a rabbit hole. So that's what we want. Basically, we invented this and created it so that we could go spend our life down a rabbit hole. I think that sums it up really, doesn't it?
I think that's a good point. It's a good point. But also off the back of that, we were already working towards that kind of framework, but I think it was in noticing too that we were doing things a little bit differently than other canine nutritionists were doing, or we had some particularly difficult cases that were not straightforward. And so we had to be creative with it. And it was on those creative turns, asking different questions, looking at things from a slightly different perspective. Actually, I mean, we talk about this all the time with our love for traditional Chinese medicine. That has been really a critical tool for us in terms of asking different questions that elicits different information for us to understand what's going on, especially things like if a particular behavior is repeated at a certain time of day, for example, from a TCM perspective, that is associated or can be associated with a particular body system. And it was through those kinds of things that we actually were able to dig into something and get clients the results quickly that they needed. Not that healing is a super quick journey, but in terms of instead of wasting time trying all these different things, actually using this framework to kind of narrow in on what are some specific things that we can be looking at and check those boxes. And that happened to be some stuff that really helped us get to some answers when other practitioners, whether it be vets or behaviorists or other kinds of consultants, were still struggling with. So we became another component in that dog's team to help figure out what was going on and then help the guardian understand what was going on and get the dog onto the healing journey a lot more quickly. So that's also where we felt like it was important to put this together and to help teach you to look at your dog and live with your dog through this lens so it becomes a lifestyle so that you are better equipped to be your dog's advocate. And when you're going and you're talking to your vet, or you're going and you're talking to the chiropractor or the physio or the behaviorist or whatever, that you are able to gather all of this information, make sense of it, and also help put the appropriate team together and help them put the puzzle pieces together so that you and your dog have a happy, healthy, loving journey together.
Yeah, and I think that puzzle piece is so important, isn't it? Because it's that so often that they're all so scattered and that they just need some kind of way of bringing them together to kind of put together that overall picture of what's going on and how that impacts the behavior or that impacts the GI issue that they're dealing with or the skin issue that they're dealing with because there's so many other factors. And when you pull them together, that's the bit that we found was missing, that what we were doing because it was slightly different. We were trying to pull those pieces together and then actually, oh, we found a way that we're doing this. And we can see how once you start joining these dots, the puzzle pieces come together and it just like you said, it's not necessarily going to speed the journey up, but it just gets you to an answer quicker. It gets you to the kind of like, right, this is an angle of it, this is an approach that we can start using. And then we can try something else. And then again, it's continually adjusting it because you know that things will change, whether it's seasonally changing, that the energetics might be different, or whether fresh food needs to change, or whether you go from cooked to raw during certain seasons and all of those things. It's just how can we do this differently and adapting rather than getting set in a this is a meal plan that I'm going to do and this is going to fix my dog. But actually, there's so many other components that come with it. But that's the bit we get really excited about.
It is. It absolutely is. And I think too, another aspect from what we learned from our own journeys, but also what we've learned from working with numerous clients is that a component that's often missing in the healing journey is the support for the guardian and
Mhm.
doing that kind of learning. I'm sorry if you can hear Lucky scratching against his carrier in the background, but this is life with dogs.
Absolutely. Always.
Um, but that learning in community and having that support, because I think a lot of us who are thinking this way about their dogs, where there's also that spiritual component as well.
Mhm.
Like if you're a soul-led dog mama like us, that you have a different perspective on the role that your dog is playing in your life, and you make different decisions from that vantage point. And oftentimes you're the only one in your community or your family that is doing that. And it can feel really hard when you're trying to make informed decisions that feel right, that resonate with you and your viewpoint on your dog and your life when you're not surrounded by others who also mirror that back to you. So we wanted to create a community, a safe community space for those of us that feel like this about our dogs and want to learn together to not only have a safe space to be with that, but also because so often the healing journey, it's a bumpy road. There are ups and there are downs, and it's not a straightforward kind of thing. And so having a group of like-minded people who are there who have probably gone through similar things to you, and also to have us to help guide you with some things you might want to look at, and again to go back to your team with, is just so crucial, not only for your dog's healing journey, but for your own healing journey. So that was another part of us putting this together as a membership.
Yeah, and just having that space to be heard and for you to find your voice and to kind of practice using your voice within that community and that it's okay, that there's no judgment. It's, we don't know what we don't know until we know it. It's all of that. And that I think particularly when I was going through my experience with Shadow, and I know this was for you, for Lucky, that we would have really loved to have had a space where we could have come and had those conversations. Not necessarily like I just need someone to tell me what to do, but those people that want to dig a little bit deeper and go, actually, how can I understand this and how can I adapt this and bring this into my own life and my own journey? I know I would have loved it at the time when everything was happening with Shadow, just because all I was getting was more clinical answers, for want of a better way of putting it. I was getting more kind of tick box answers where I wanted to dig a little bit deeper and understand a little bit more. And nothing was bringing the pieces together. I still felt very disjointed, and I would have loved to have that community where I could have had those conversations and bring in some of the woo and bring in some of the other parts of the conversation that isn't mainstream, isn't currently out there. And I think that's what Fetch offers, isn't it? It's that space to bring all of you, all the bits that you want to investigate, I suppose, isn't it? And get curious about. It's my favorite section.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. And for those who aren't familiar with our individual journeys, Stacy and I both had, I would argue, soul dogs that came into our lives to teach us some major lessons. And it resulted, we were both kind of on the conventional path at first with what we're told to do with our dogs. And as a result of our dogs' journeys, it launched us not only into needing to look at things in a different way and take some different approaches, but it's also what launched both of us into holistic canine nutrition professionally and marrying up nutrition and wellness conversations because we both feel like you can't talk about what's going in your dog's bowl without having these other conversations around things like flea and tick stuff, around vaccinations and your stance on that, around exploring enrichment and training, teaching versus training, and taking a whole dog, whole person approach. And also, like we were saying, like our soul dogs offer us the opportunity to go on our own healing journey. And so, what does that look like? And having a safe space to work through all of that. So that's where we wanted to bring that together. But we do have an episode that we both recorded on the Mystic Dog Mama podcast that introduces how we got
Yeah,
into this. So if you want to hear more about the specifics of some of our journeys with our dogs, I will leave a link for that as well. You can go and listen to that. But we have personal firsthand experience with us. And so that's why we wanted to create a space because we both wanted to create the community that we were so desperately looking for. And it just didn't exist. So we're creating it now, and hopefully it will serve all of you, which is really exciting. But I
yeah.
think, oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think that's about creating that paradigm shift. That this is one of the things that we, when we're not here, when we're talking and leaving voice notes for each other all day, it's this. It's about creating a paradigm shift in how we live with our dogs and how we live with ourselves as well, and creating those conversations that allows those bigger conversations to have that to create change that we want to see in the world. And yes, it can start as simple as our relationship with our dogs. And the whole thing about our dogs eat better than us is something that we would love to challenge in terms of that conversation that if we're nourishing our dogs, why are we not nourishing ourselves? What's the block around that? And why are we choosing not to do that? Why is our dog's health suddenly more important than our own health and well-being when if we were to change our approach for all of our health and well-being, it changes the conversation completely and it comes back to food all of it comes back to Fetch completely because then you get curious about the toxins in your home and the cleaning products you might be using and then what holistic approaches if your dog's seeing an osteo, why aren't you seeing an osteo? It just creates that continual questioning and curiosity, which is why this CBIT is my favorite part.
It does. It does. And I think at the same time, too, I am somebody who I love going down the rabbit holes and I love seeing all those connections between systems. I have a background, I have a doctorate in using participatory art and design to help people connect to big issues like climate change.
Mhm.
And it was, funnily enough, like when I switched into this, people are like, well, what do you mean? You went from this to working with your dogs. Like, how is that the same thing? And it's totally the same thing. The dogs are entry points they're kind of like little gateway for looking at a lot of these bigger issues. And we both talk about how it can feel so overwhelming, even if you're just focusing on the nutrition space, like what should I feed my dog? What's the best thing to feed my dog? The amount of stuff out there is so unbelievably overwhelming and often contradictory. And it can feel like you don't know how to put the puzzle pieces together. You don't know how to make a decision. And then you're often left feeling guilty that you're not
Yeah,
doing, quote unquote, all the things that you're seeing out there. And I think while we're also having those big conversations around how are our dogs and how we feed them related to regenerative farming and climate change, and they are, and
mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
how can you actually make the right best step for you right now? What is a practical thing for you to do right now? And that's what we want to help you with. So you can go from that feeling of overwhelm and feeling like you're not doing your best job and just not even knowing where to turn to having a really clear, concise plan for you and your individual dog and your individual situation with steps that you can be taking right now so that you feel as though you're properly equipped to do what the right next thing is for you, and that will make things feel so much easier. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to do with this
Yeah.
community.
And then it reduces your stress, and then that's great for the dogs, and it has a knock-on effect, and then that opens up another layer of the onion of curiosity and getting just diving deeper on the next thing. But there is no one place to start. Some people will start on the fresh food, people will start on the curious, and that's the beauty of it. Even though it's a framework, it you will dip in and out, and the thing is, it's all linked to link. It's at the same at some point anyway, isn't it? That it all crosses over, but it just gives you something to kind of hang each thing on and just kind of look into each section. And I think that's what makes this so different and can give you the opportunity to explore those things in a safe environment, and and just to feel heard. Because I think particularly for women, and this is another conversation we have a lot about, it is women having issues. And I think issues is even the wrong word, but just that we've held on to this for so long about speaking up, and particularly when it comes to talking to vets, because they're in a white coat and they're stood there telling us that this is what we should be doing for our dogs, and then it's the kind of fight or flight in that moment. You just kind of agree to whatever because it isn't seen as right to kind of speak up and go, well, could I just take that information and come back again tomorrow, or could I just see the data sheet? Asking those questions, particularly for women, if you talk about things like the witch wound, which is one thing that we love talking about, it's a huge part. And I think if we can start having those conversations and just allowing ourselves to learn how to question, but and it's not being confrontational, but it's just using your voice in a different way, and rather than just kind of just accepting things as they are, that it is okay to ask questions. And how do we do that feeling safe? How do we do that allowing ourselves to do that? And this is where you can practice. We
Exactly.
can be a rehearsal team.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. And I think we both want to be really upfront too with the fact that we're building this together with you. We don't have everything laid out already. In fact, we don't want to have everything laid out already. We want to be creating things that are in response to what's actually going to serve you. There is so much stuff out there, and I'm sure every single one of us has done all the things, searched all the stuff thinking this is the final thing that's going to help us put together. It's information overload. So we don't
Yeah.
want to overwhelm you with content. What we want to make sure that we're doing is we're creating targeted approaches in our content that is actually what's going to help you. So this very much is a community. It is co-created. You are just as much a part of making this the success that we know it's going to be, and for the success for our dogs as we are. And so we want to create a space where we're openly feeding back with one another about what it is that you really need and want, and we will create what it is that we can do to help you with that. But we did have some things like as a starting vision that we would like we feel would be really helpful, and we'll use that as a kind of starting point, to kind of get the conversations going and then build things out from there. But I thought we could kind of talk about what we're looking at having as the initial things in the membership, and what the differences are between what you get in the free membership and what you get in the paid membership, so that you can make the best decision for yourself. Should we go
Yeah,
into that?
yeah, yeah. I think so. In the free version, so you can everything's basically going to be on Patreon. I think that's our home. That's where we're going to be. We will have the YouTube channel where we will put some content, but Patreon's going to be our base. So in there, so each month, we will do a monthly live Q&A. So you can come and join the Zoom call, ask us your questions, um, and that will be free, open to all Patreon members. So that's everybody that's part of the Patreon, but you do have to sign up to the Patreon because then you'll get the notifications when the link gets put on and you'll see the post. So that's the only way that you will access the post. I'm right in saying that, I know, but that's the only place we're going to put it. Yeah. Um, and then the First Fetch Friday, is that right? First Fetch, yeah, First Fetch Friday podcast. Just put my teeth in. Um, that goes live on the first Friday of every month. And in fact, we've got one coming up this Friday, haven't we? Dental health. Um, and then you'll get discount on some of the paid events and workshops and resources that we're now starting to create, and some of the discussions we're having with guest speakers to come in and talk that will be paid events, but that you will get a discount as a free member. I think I've covered everything on the free,
Yep.
haven't I? Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
And
then
then on the, yeah, you go monthly. You go on the paid. There you go.
okay, so then the paid one, you will get everything that's included in the free membership. So you get access to join us for the live Q&As, but you also get the benefit of your questions that you submit to us will be prioritized over others. So if you really want to be asking a particular question, that is definitely something to kind of consider. We will also have an extra monthly group coaching call for the paid members. And so this is an opportunity for you to workshop with us using the F.E.T.C.H framework for your dog, for example, or if you have any particular issues that you kind of want to look at, you've got both of us there as a resource to help you work through all of that. And then the really wonderful thing too is that when you get in at this price for our founding members, this is the lowest price it's ever going to be. And then you're locked in at that. So as we do start to increase the price, as we start to build the membership out and we start to have more resources, you're still going to be in at the introductory price. And then you will have a discount as well to the different events, workshops, and resources, but a greater discount than the free members. We're still working out what all the specifics of this will be. So, again, if there are other things that you are wanting and needing, please let us know and we can look at creating all of that for you. So, again, this is just sort of like a basic framework that we're looking at right now, but we will grow that and
Yeah.
as we grow and in response to what it is that you need.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, we have hundreds of ideas of stuff that we want to out, but we don't, it's not necessarily that there's no point us putting it out, but it's if this isn't what you need right now, we'd rather spend the time giving you what you need and the support that you need and the resources and the guest speakers that you really want to hear from and those types of things. So that's why this is a community, and that's why you feeding into us and telling us what you need is so important, and we're so grateful for it, because it just gives us an opportunity to actually deliver something that is so different from other things that are out there at the moment, where it's just, this is the information we think you need right now. Well, that's not necessarily how it works. We want it to be a really two-way relationship so that we can build this together and create something so magic, and
Absolutely.
we both get so excited when we talk about it.
We do. And we really want to drive it home that this is for you. This is for you. This is about you. So let us know how we can best serve you. And we would be delighted to do that. But we also wanted to, as we're building out the Patreon. So again, this is our kind of starting point with Patreon. We're learning this. So please be gentle and forgiving with us as well, because there's going to be a lot of learning curves for us with the kind of tech side of things and all of that. So we just want to be very transparent about, but
Right,
also
love.
yeah, and even like the mailing list as well. We're gonna have stumbling blocks with that, so be forgiving with that. But maybe now's a good time as well to talk about the mailing list really quickly too, of what you can expect. That we will be sending you out one monthly newsletter where we'll be announcing the Q&A, our topic for the first Fetch Friday, any other things that are coming up, and then we envision there are some times that we might send a second email out if there are special things that are going on or a particular event or whatever, but our intention is not to bombard you with emails. We just want to make sure that you are kept in the loop with things, but we'll also have a lot of that information, especially for the events, etc., on Patreon, so that can be your base to come and get information.
Yeah.
But also in terms of the housekeeping, do you want to run through a little bit what we're thinking about with how we've got Patreon set up right now and how you can access the information to help guide you through it?
Do you mean with the tags and what we're doing is yeah, so Patreon gives us a really great function in the fact that we can start tagging posts and tagging putting so that you can search them. It's kind of like hashtags, but not quite. It's a more streamlined way of doing it. So we'll be tagging things like under fresh food or energetics or the targeted to give you, so if you're looking for something, hopefully that will make it easier for you to go and look for posts or look for information about that specific topic. And as videos and workshops and all those things get added, you'll be able to find them much more easily. So fingers crossed that works, but I'm sure it will. It's just, again, it's a learning curve. We're still figuring all these bits out, but it's a really cool platform, I think. And then there's going to be a shop where we're going to have resources. And depending on which membership you're in will depend on what discounts you get, but there will be resources that we've got a couple that we want that we've already kind of earmarked as they will be the kind of um, initial ones to go on, and then it will be depending on feedback as to what other things are needed. But with there's two, I think, particularly at the moment, there's that we've got earmarked to go on there at the moment. But yeah, that's where all of the Patreon and on the shop and on the feed is where all the information is going to be, and then you can search. But maybe we might have to do a video about kind of looking for tags or something. I don't know, just to see if it whether it's really crystal clear, because I've only ever used Patreon as a member in a group that wasn't very active, so I haven't used it in one that's going to be as
Yeah. Yeah.
active as us. So if you need that, tell us, we'll do it, we'll figure it
Exactly.
out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if the tagging system isn't quite working for you, let us know and we will
Yeah,
revise that. But we
yeah.
also have, and we want to take advantage of the fact that there is the community function on Patreon with the chats. So we've started a couple of chat threads that we'd love for you to come and engage in. And we'll add some more and you can add some more as we kind of move things forward. But there's an initial one that asks you to, this just says, welcome, come and introduce yourself. So come and let us know who you are and who your dog is. And let
Pictures.
us, yeah, we love pictures. You can add pictures on Patreon, which is fantastic. So let us know what you're here for and what you're kind of struggling with and what you are hoping to see and where you're based as well. That will be really interesting to see.
Yeah. And we're going to have a questions thread as well. So if there is something that comes up, and then we can keep an eye on it and make sure that we're kind of covering that stuff. Or it might give us an idea for a resource, or it might give us an idea for a workshop, or it might, so the more information we have, the more we can tailor it. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
The more we can help you with whatever it is that you are struggling with. So that's going to be on your Patreon dashboard. If you go to the community tab, if you're looking on your desktop, it's on the left-hand side. Those threads will be there. So just feel free. We've just got those two right now as a kind of start, but you can feel free to create other threads too, or we'll create other threads as we kind of grow. So
Yeah.
that's kind of it for our first Q&A. We just wanted to give you a little bit of a general overview to welcome you in. We are so grateful that you're here and we're so excited
So
to take this out with you. And like we keep saying, this is for you. So let us know what you're struggling with, what you need help with, what you have questions about. There's no question off limits. And we will look at addressing that in the Q&A sessions. We will look at addressing that through resources. And if you need different types of engagement with us as well, let us know what that looks like, and we'll be sure to build that out.
yeah, just so excited. So yeah, join
Yes.
the fun. Come
Yeah.
on
So
in.
we come on in. We look forward to meeting you in the introduction chat.
Yeah, great. And then we'll get we'll get a date for the next monthly live, which will be at the beginning of March. Well, we're recording this in early February, so it'll be the March one now. So yeah,
Exactly.
exciting.
All right.
Really
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're
good.
here. Until next
Yeah,
time.
thank you for joining. Take care. Bye.